I want to talk a little bit about your story, Kevin, and I'm having a flashback to, I think, 1991 when I went to a career fair at MIT. And there you're walking around, and I was a junior, and of course I was thinking, where do I want to work after MIT? And of course, at the time there was like the Microsofts there, and then the Wall Street companies were there, and the chemical engineering companies were there. And I remember this one desk without any banners on it, and it just had a guy sitting there with some cards on it. And one of my buddies he said, that's the CIA, or that's some covert department or government that's recruiting. And I think they actually had someone there, with a desk, but they didn't say much, but that was an option. I think I'm remembering this correctly. And I do know that they did some recruiting in Ivy Leagues. Of course,
that was their main recruiting target. Yeah.
Right. And that's interesting. And so, first of all, maybe you could tell me a little bit about how they recruit and why they recruit them. I know you kind of got in with a reference of someone from school, and the last thing you thought that they would ever bring you in. And then, of course, they did bring you in. And then famously, when you tried to expose the fact that they were allowing, I think, an easy way for people to find out about agents' identities, that they actually didn't want to go ahead and follow this. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how they recruited. Would I have remembered that right? And then what caused you to leave the agency?
Well, you got that right. They're so full of themselves. They put a guy with business cards sitting behind a desk, like they're, that so important. But so I'm sure that's what that was. And Ivy Leagues are their prime target. They will recruit, especially people out of Ivy Leagues. It's been their recruitment procedure since the beginning of the CIA, and has continued after that. Bill Barr was recruited, well, I think it was Yale, while he was at Yale. And you could go on and on and on and on. So that's their prime recruiting ground. Other people that come in there, it depends on what you're applying for. Now, in my case, I turned my 171 in. As you mentioned, I had a checkered and shaded past in college, so I never thought I would get hired. But anyway, I turned my SR 171 in and applied for
Investment Club. Today, I consider it the best investment that I've ever made. We get 4 projects presented a week by their associated CEOs. Personally, I'm completely blown away by the quality of these projects, and I know of nowhere else where I would be given this same opportunity. Each week that passes, I feel more appreciative of the fact that I'm a member of this group. The vibe was just tremendous. Everybody's on the same wavelength. We just clicked. Everybody listened to each other, enjoyed their company. It was just magical. Take action. Don't take my word for it. Due diligence you need to do. And I really hope that someday down the road I see you in the club. It far exceeded expectations, without question.
The new program by the CIA called the Security Protective Service, and those were top secret cleared federal police officers that graduated from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and they were brought into the CIA to protect CIA personnel and facilities so they could go into places no one else could go if there was some kind of emergency, and that's not just in the United States but overseas. So that's how I came in. I had no idea what was in there. You don't, unless you're a case officer. You already know what you're going to do. I later on was doing the duties of a case officer, but this is how I started out. And then eventually, when I was on Bill Casey's detail as an agent, I went through the battery of testing. You had to get a 3.0 or better on the equivalent of the graduate records exam, and do all this psychological testing with questions like, do you like tall women? I mean, how do you answer that one? Yeah, I like them tall, short, medium. Yeah, but that was one of the questions. One of the big ones that stood out was, could you make a friend out of someone and then turn around and betray them? And you know exactly what they're going for. Anyway, so it was as I was promoted to a full CI security officer, and that's kind of like the NCIS without arrest powers, basically. You have full powers of an investigator inside the CIA, and that's how I wound up on the counterespionage group, searching for moles, a definite mole inside the agency, and then later on went over to the Counterterrorism Center and was sent out collecting human intelligence against terrorist targets that way. So I came in not knowing what was in there, and then later on, left the Security Protective Service and eventually went over to the Director of Operations out in the field for the Counterterrorism Center. So unless you apply as a case officer, you don't know what's in there, regardless of where they recruit you from. If you're a case officer, then of course you know generally what you're going to be doing, but you don't know the full picture. They're going to turn you into something you may not want to be. But I went native for 5 years when I was doing a human collection and became like them. And you lie, you cheat, you steal, you drink, you make friends with other governments, and then you steal their stuff. And sadly, a lot of the James Bond image is just I love spy movies, but it's just a creation,
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.